Tablature, or guitar tab. It's what real musicians think of as sheet music for dumbasses. I don't share that sentiment at all. Tablature is incredibly useful if you're a guitar player, or bass player even, because it is a way of reading music that specifically caters to the different articulations and things that you do on the guitar that are kind of unique to the instrument and are difficult to express in regular sheet music. Where it falls short, and where maybe traditional musicians don't like it, is that it's not as adept as expressing the rhythm of what you are playing and sharing how the song actually should sound if you haven't even heard it. You can give a piece of sheet music to a piano player and have them play it, and it'll be the correct song. But in most instances, with tablature, depending on how it's written and how it's often written, if you gave it to someone that doesn't know the song, it's just going to be like a random assortment of notes, and they're not going to really be able to play the song. But that's not really why people are getting tab and reading it. You're getting this stuff for songs that you know and you want to learn, and it is a great way to learn how to play a song. So that said, there's a website that I'm going to link here that shows examples of what all the tab is and how to read it. And they've even got links to some videos on there, but they're more general videos for each example of what the techniques are. And what I wanted to do was take each one of the examples on this very useful website and play just specifically what they have written on the site for that tab. So my beginner buddies out there, you can learn tab with exactly what you're looking at and see an example of what it is on the guitar. So there's like 20 or so different examples on the site. Again, I'll keep the link running below here. And let's get to actually playing the examples now. Okay, so for the first thing that they show on the website, you can see it's just a picture of the guitar neck to make sure that you understand how you read this. And it is from the high string, which will be at the top of the screen. So it's a little bit confusing when you look at it on a screen versus a guitar. And I have a whole video about why this is. I'll link that above here rather than explaining it all here. But it's E, B, G, D, A, E in a standard tuning. And they're just showing so you understand what you're reading on the tab. Again, top of the tablature is the highest string. Bottom of the tablature is the string closest to you. We take a look at the first example here, just that they put up to make sure you understand what you're reading. And they have a group of notes on the A string, 2, 4, 2, 0. That's it. It's showing you what string and what number fret to play. Again, this example, 2, 4, 2, 0. Doesn't say anything about what rhythm you play it at, or speed, or how hard you play them, or accents, or anything like that. It's just the notes on the string. Okay, now the second thing you encounter, and that they show on here, is a stack of notes, and it's just a chord. In this instance, it's a C chord. And you can see it's got the open, the first, the open, the second, and the third. And they're all stacked up because you play them at the same time. Now, technically, when it's written like that, it doesn't show you to strum down or up, so you'd pluck it all with your fingers, but if you're just playing with a pick, you just strum the C. Next example is the same thing, but it's showing it 3 times because you're strumming the chord 1, 2, 3 times. Again, there's no note in there with little arrows showing which way to strum it. That is something that's you can see in tablature where they'll have like an up arrow and a down arrow, but we're just getting into the basics here. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now in the next example, this is a simple hammer-on, and it's showing you what fret to play, what string to play it on again, and what you're hammering to. So in this case, it's the 9th fret and the D string, and you simply hammer on the 11th, which is you pick the first note, and then you just use your left hands to play the second note. That's all that is. The next example is the same thing reverse. You pull off, so you play the 11th fret on that string, and instead of picking the next note, you're just pulling your finger off. And as a little tip for beginners here, notice when you pull off, I don't just lift my finger, because it kind of dies if you do that. When I pull off, I actually like rip the string off my finger a little bit. I give it an actual tug so it flips off of my finger and makes the sound for the next note. Okay, the next example is a bend. This starts on the 14th fret on the A string, and you see there's a little line leading up, and it goes to half, which means a half step. A half step is 1 fret, whereas a whole step is 2 frets. So in this instance, we're bending from here, 14th to the 15th. And I have, again, a video talking specifically about bends and how to do them, so I'll link it here for you in case you want to go and dive into that. Now, to note on tablature, when it says 1/2, you're bending a half step, as I just said, 1 fret. If you want to bend 2 frets, it's going to say full above that line. So instead of bending from here to here, you're bending from here to bending further, and it can go all the way to saying 1 1/2 and 2 if you're really bending the strings a crazy long distance. So the next one now is showing you to bend and then bring the note back to where it was again. In this case, it's the same bend from before where you go a half step from the 14th fret. So and then back down. So you bend it up and then go back down. Okay, in the next one we have a slide where you slide from one fret to another and you pick both notes. So here they show you sliding from the 10th fret on the G string down to the 8th fret, and I pick both notes. And the next example, it's the same thing, but I would not pick both notes. Here they have me going from the 15th to the 13th, and I just pick the first note and slide to the second. Okay, next they don't have a note here in the tab on the example on the site, but it's talking about vibrato, which is vibrating a note. So I'm just going to play the 7th fret on the G string and in basic vibrato, moving my hand slightly up and down to create a vibrating effect. Now in the next one, they're talking about a wide vibrato, which you can do with your left hand, or if you have one of these, tremolo arm, you can use that. And they have it going from a wide vibrato on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string, and then just playing that note next according to the tab there. So the wide vibrato, it's either going to be really wide with your left hand or use the bar. All right, next on the site is something called let ring, and that means as you're picking through notes, usually happens with chords that are mixed with kind of lead melody type of stuff. You're letting one of the notes ring while you play the other notes. Here it shows letting this open E string ring and then playing the two notes that come next, the 3 and the 1, while it rings. Next is a palm mute. This here is a B power chord that they're showing. And a palm mute just means to rest your hand gently on the strings right here by the bridge and to play the chord. If you start to lift your hand up, the palm mute releases and it gets louder. If you're getting a lot of deadness, it just means your hand's too far up towards the fretboard. You want to keep it back down near the bridge. The next one is a ghost note. This one is a little bit harder to explain. They're talking about when here they just show one note followed by a ghost, which is hard to show in an example like that. Maybe I can do it like that way. It's like an extremely muted note, but to hear it in context, it's more of something that happens while you're playing through a lead. So maybe you're playing a little lead line. You can have a little jump to it. It's a little bit hard to express, but basically it means that you barely fret the note or you barely pluck the note. It's just a filler in between. The next thing we have on here are dead notes, and it just basically shows you to strum whether you have a percussive sound. So they've got 4 strums and then 3 of what is a C sharp power chord there. 4, 6, and 6 as you see on the tab. So that's kind of what it's showing. And it's just, you see it in context of a song. It's going to be a lot of X's to show where I'm just strumming the strings and not actually playing the chord. Next we have the up and down stroke, which I mentioned before, which is just showing whether you're strumming down or up. Here they have a B, what amounts to a B9 chord. And it's just downstroke, upstroke, downstroke in the example. And now they show something called natural harmonics. If you're not familiar with these, this is when you have your finger just very lightly resting on a string and you pluck the note. Here they show at the 12th fret both E strings. These harmonics don't work everywhere on the guitar. As you move, they start to deaden out. So they happen at the 12th, 9th, 7th, 5th are the common places. You can get sound in other areas, especially if you're playing a very overdriven sound. But the common ones are there, and that's what it's showing in the tablature, just 2 of the natural harmonics. The site goes on further from there, just talking about rhythmic elements and entire bars of music, and that's kind of beyond the scope of what I'm doing here in this video. I just wanted to show you what each one of the articulations looks and sounds like, so you get an idea what that's about. It's left out some more advanced things, like where you bend the note and then tap it and come down, so there are a handful of other more advanced things. But for a beginner lesson, this should really get you started reading basic tab for songs you want to learn and launching into really understanding tablature and having fun playing the music you want to play. So I hope that made sense to everybody. If you have any questions or comments below or want to see anything additional, need explanation on something, please leave me a message. I'm always happy to answer questions. And until next time, guys, keep making great music. Hey friends, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. It makes the whole world better.